Everybody state their name, what the position they're running for, and just give us a little blurb about yourselves. And we will start with Janet. Okay, Linda.
Linda Adamo, I'm running for school district treasurer. I got into this position because 4 people wrote me in at one point, and here I am. And right now, what this position entails is battling with the SAU to get information out of them, because they're not very forthcoming with either me or with the school. So it's a battle. I got lessons, but I don't have the jurisdiction of the school district treasurer is quite limited. There are a lot of things I can't do, but there's a lot of ways I can try to get answers from these. And I serve on the school board.
Sierra.
My name is Sierra Bonnell. I am running for the 1-year seat on the school board. I've been on the budget committee, the 1-year seat on the school board. I've been on the budget committee for the last 3 years, and being on that side, feel like I could bring a lot more to the school board and maybe trying to bridge the terrible gap that we have. That's about all I got. Yeah. And I'm on the PTA, and yeah.
Okay, Samantha.
Hi, Samantha Martell. I'm running for the 3-year term on the school board. I am also a current member of the school board. I did a 1-year term this past year. I am hoping to continue the work that we've been doing. I feel like just being on the board for a year, I haven't had enough time to really dig into it. Just this past deliberative session, I've learned a lot. And I'm hoping to continue to learn and continue to support our school in any way I can.
Okay, Roy.
I'm Roy Parise. I'm running for town clerk, tax collector. I've owned property in town here for 14 years now, and I've been a full-time resident for almost 6. And I think I bring a little bit of stability to the office.
Jonathan.
I am Jonathan Sindorf. Lived in town for about 55 years, and think of all the changes that have happened over those years. Pretty significant in town. From the town clerk being in someone's home when I was a kid, registered to vote in this building in the place that used to be the little library over there. It was the nice thing to see is as the town's progressed is that, I'm running for a 3-year selectman's seat. Sorry about that. The nice thing about the town, it's progressed. I mean, but it has also kept its small town feel and charm and affordability. And I think the departments are running well currently. I'm not here to shake anything up. I think it's the department heads are doing an excellent job at reportable solutions.
And Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim Kerman. I'm running for the 3-year select board position. I'm currently on the select board. I've been on for the past 3 years. I guess the biggest reason why I want to continue to run is because I think there's still more to be done, and I would like to continue that. Over the past couple years, I've done my best to make sure that the community stays informed of everything that's happening, whether it's from making sure the meetings are posted or by creating the current Middleton Minutes newsletter. I hope you guys listen to everything we have to say and make your choice.
Okay, so we'll open it up to questions on the floor. If nobody has any questions, we have some questions that have been submitted, but we'll let people have the opportunity to ask a question. If you raise your hand. Colleen.
So this is for Jonathan. And I'm looking for specifics. What are specific action items that you're going to
first 90 days is learning the job. I definitely want to know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing and how to do it. I want to make sure I'm not messing up on anything. There's so many things we could go awry as a selectman. There's so many things that are confidential that you're handling. I really want to learn the job. I don't believe I need to have any action items beyond that, except to continue to work with the department heads, the other members of the Board of Selectmen.
We're gonna have a lot more areas where we might have to take some hard looks as to if it's a need or a want and how we're going to be able to afford that.
Okay, anybody else with questions? I saw another hand, I thought. Heather?
So what is your vision for the future of Middleton, and how do you propose
Is that for everybody or just the selectmen?
for everyone in your
Okay.
current role?
I'll start. I think my current role is I'd love to see Middleton continue to keep its small town charm. I'd like to see us find interesting and new ways to have more revenue come in. And I'm not just talking about commercial development, but so things like maybe getting a actual rec department for the town. I've looked into other departments within the state, and I find that a lot of times by creating an enterprise fund with a rec department, you're actually able to keep the taxes down. Other things that saw, whether it's maybe we can find interesting ways, whether it's a library to do the same thing, or to work with the school to develop so see what the children have for solutions. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, not used to be up like this, but I think the general idea is, like I said, to not only to look at commercial growth, but especially look at ways we can find creative solutions for our budgeting issues here in the town, and to see the town grow but keep the rural feel that we've all come to love.
I'd like to see the town continue as it is. I think that one of the things we have to be concerned of right now is the large amount of spending on the school side. I know that wouldn't affect me in this role, but the thing is, it affects the taxpayers. So, like, we talk about whether to get a new piece of equipment for the police and the fire. Both department heads, both chiefs have done a great job at determining what's been needed and making priorities for the future. And I honestly don't see the town being more than a residential town. I mean, we don't have the infrastructure. We won't have the infrastructure. It takes a town about the size of Middleton or Farmington to actually be able to afford the infrastructure. And if you've been watching either of their water and sewer departments and what's been going on, get back to me on that later. Okay.
I think we all want to see the town stay the same small town,
Roy, can you speak up? We can't hear you, Roy, sorry.
Does this work?
Yes.
We all want to we all want the town to stay small and grow at a slow pace. More revenue would be nice. As far as what I can do is just make sure that the services that we provide in the town clerk's office are there on a regular basis. And one of the big things that we have to take care of in that office is the record keeping that we have a lot of old records that need to be preserved, and they're not really being cared for the way they should be. And we're trying to change that.
Samantha?
The budget obviously is the biggest concern for everybody, I think. The budget obviously is the biggest concern for everybody, I think. Don't even show up to that. I think you have a lot of gatekeeping that keeps the families from the school.
My answer was, I want to get the best education for our kids that we can afford. And that still stands true. And as treasurer, to me, what that means is getting transparency out of this. We're going to keep going. Who's watching it?
Janet?
And although the departments are all doing a great job, they need to do a better job planning, especially when it comes to capital reserve funds. They need to know over the, say, a 5-year period, what they're gonna be needing, and start putting the money away for it. I'd like to see that happen.
We can't hear you. Can you speak up, please?
I would like each of you to talk about what your educational backgrounds are and what skills or particular?
Linda?
I have a 2-year degree, an associate's degree, and I have taken other courses after that, probably about a good 3.5 years towards a bachelor's degree. I've held, depends on where I live, what type of job I had. Here in New Hampshire, I was a paralegal and administrator for churches. And in New York, I was a corporate training manager. My background there was a lot of education. I'm a lifetime Girl Scout. I've worked with youth my entire life. As I said, I've had 9 years in the school. Like Janet, and like a lot of people whose faces I know in here, we used to call it like a rotation. We would rotate from one board to the next, and it was always the same faces. This year you're on the zoning board, 3 years later you're on the planning board. We both chaired both of those. I've been a trustee of the trust fund. I lost selectmen by 3 votes. I think that's the only position I haven't held in this, and it's like, we all rotate, and it is encouraging to see as many people here tonight. Keep in mind, we have 2,000 people in this town. There's not that much checking on the Olympics. I looked before. You should be, there's no good hockey tonight, so you should be here. We do need people involved. Sierra and I are the alpaca part of the Alpaca Pals, which is the PTA. I have no children. Where are the parents? Where are the other people in the community who well-educated, happy children affect the entire community? Everybody should have a stake in something in this community. Everybody should be doing some type of volunteer work in this community. I will see you again on election day with Andrea as we sit here as supervisors of the checklist. So more people need to get involved because we're getting old and worn out.
Sierra?
Well, I have my high school diploma. I have been working in municipalities since 2019. I've worked in assessing, deputy town clerk, deputy bookkeeper, police secretary, and then I've been in finance in municipalities since 2021. I currently have a full-time finance job in another state for a municipality, and I have a part-time bookkeeper job for another town. I am currently taking classes for my associates in accounting. I'm on the budget committee, and have been for 3 years, and again, I'm a PTA, so that's really all I got.
That's a lot. Samantha?
So I have a Master's of Educational Studies from the University of New Hampshire. I focused on administrative and leadership specifically, but I also have 14 years of experience working in higher education. 5 of those years I spent working specifically coordinating a high school internship program to bring STEM programs to the students and help incorporate them into moving on to college later on. And in addition to that, I've also been on the school board for the last year, so I have some experience.
Roy?
My education is in engineering at Northeastern University. I ran a family business for 35 years in Massachusetts before leaving and going to work for Snap-on Equipment Corporation, training technicians on different equipment. And then I retired.
Jonathan?
I began my my studies at UNH in a field that doesn't help any of you at all, in music. And I didn't complete that degree. And then I went on to work on an external program through Southeastern College for clinical pastoral studies, and did some consulting work with New Hampshire Hospital at that time as I was working on courses through Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. And then that just became a volunteer part of my life. And I was able to use what education I did have and job experience to work into positions that were waivered, that require degrees in certain fields, but Health and Human Services will waiver you if you have enough experience and enough other education. So I've been able to gain other education in things like behavioral sciences and things like that. I was working with developmentally disabled programs, watching budgets, things like that. I'm now in a position where I'm only really responsible for myself, which I kind of like at this point in my life. I I coach youth soccer, youth basketball, volunteer as a clergy member at a church. I play in a band on the weekends, and I don't know what else I do. But, you know, I like being busy. I'm going to be one of those guys, if I have this strength, I'm going to be working at least till I'm 75. I could keep up with my job at that if I have good health, and that's what my retirement plan is. So Patty's counting on me to stay chugging until at least then. Go ahead, Tim.
I have a associate's degree in broadcast television from Middleton Bar. As far as outside, I have been taking classes in both business management and marketing development. I was the chair of the Rochester Main Street Committee. I was on the Rochester Economic Development Committee. I was
budget, voting, you know, appropriating budgets to save us taxpayers' money.
I would have to say that because we also have to live in a town where we have a school that has built-in raises for additional education, not even with job performance, additional years on the job, totally separated from job performance, and they're already making more than a lot of the town employees, and better benefits, Cadillac plans. I would have a very hard time doing that. It's not the municipal part of the town that's killing everyone. It's not. If you look back on their budgets for the last 5 years or whatever, you're not going to see anything that's causing a lot of emergencies. And I got to tell you, when I say I work a second job, it's not for fun spending money. That's what pays the oil, the taxes, the car repairs, and other things like medical necessities, medications, or whatever. I absolutely rely on that money. Probably I'll earn a laughable amount of money. But I also recognize we have to keep good people on the municipal side. We currently have good people. And when I look at the wages, going back quite a ways, which I did earlier today, I don't have a problem with the budget that the budgetary needs have been presented and what the Board of Selectmen put forward to the Budget Committee and what the Budget Committee put forward. Now, obviously in an emergency, I would do anything. The agency I work at back in 1995, just a few months, maybe 6 months after I was hired, it was under a different name at the time. It was about to go under. They had a big heart, and you know, with any town or organization, you can have a big heart, but the bottom line is you got to pay the bills. So, like 5 months into my employment, across the board, there was a 10% pay cut, and positions were eliminated that could have been eliminated. You know, to put people in earning, like things that you could bill for, positions you could bill for. I stayed through that. They eventually got themselves back on their feet under new management, a new CFO, and a new CEO. And I've had since that time one transfer because Health and Human Services needed to collect approximately $1 million from every area agency, which provides for developmental services. One of the unique things that's different than like the education system, DHHS gets something from the governor or the executive council that says, we need to do this. You need to do this. So every region has a certain amount based on the amount of people they serve and various things like that, that they have to cut. It's not like a maybe, you have to cut. And guess what? I stayed through that. That's how I moved over to the mental health side of our agency, because they knew I could work in a billable position that was earning back money for the agency, and remove me from that position, put someone else in that position I was in. I stayed with the agency. I really like working there. But I definitely recognize taxpayers are they're at the top. They are. We always have to be aware of them. And I am not someone who wants to grow budgets a lot. But I do recognize we do need cost of living increases. We really do. I mean, and I know I'm one of those people who says we can't compete with Wakefield, we can't compete with New Durham, we can't compete with Wolfboro. But to an extent, we have to make it so it's not laughable what they're making in comparison to the other places, okay? That's just my belief.
I can say that the biggest thing that I believe in is I believe that we should have just standard raises for everybody. I think that everybody was depending on the evaluation they receive. It depends on what they get. As far as looking at budgets as, you know, cost spending, whether it's, you know, the highway department, fire department, police department, look at how they're going to be spending that money, how they're going to be affording the equipment they're getting, and if it's a need or a want. If it's something that it's a want that we don't need right now, then no, I won't vote for it. Prime example is, I honestly didn't think that we needed a snow blower recently, so I voted against it. But yeah, so I also say that I also think that we also need to look at how we're deciding what we're spending our money on. And that's, I think, the biggest thing we're going to be looking at over the next 18 months or next year or two.
Can I add one more thing? I think the recent purchases in the past year of the fire truck, the new fire truck, and the police car were good examples of department heads using funds that were available. I know back in town meeting last year, I think it was Joe Bailey, he at least brought it up. He may have made the motion to buy the fire truck completings. They do a good job at presenting their needs and also making sure the Board of Selectmen know what they're doing. You know, I'm comfortable with that.
Yes, I agree with that statement, because I believe that, for the most part, all the things we've purchased for the past year have been presented by, whether it's the fire department or another department, have explained how only why we're getting it, how we're getting it, and where they're going to get the money from, and whether or not it's going to be an increase or something that they budgeted for. So.
Joanne, sorry.
Question for the members that are going for school board positions. Since the object of finance has come up and school is our biggest bill, I think that is a major concern. But I'd also like to hear that the school is going to continue to see some improvement in the scholastic scores for the children. Do you feel that there are some options to see some benefits in the scholastic scores of the kids? Are there some options that are going to be developed to improve the scores?
I don't have a good answer for that right now, but I can tell you in my personal opinion, I don't personally feel that test scores accurately reflect the student's knowledge at this moment, how that would work.
I mean, I don't know what the options are, but I feel like there's going to be something. But if you look at the test scores of Middleton students, and you look at the test scores of the other schools in Governor Wentworth, out of all those schools, Middleton falls in the bottom two. We follow the same curriculum, so why is it that our students are doing worse than the other schools? There's, and this thing of not all kids learn the same, not all kids learn the same one we were taught differently. So whether the test asks in a certain way or whether they're taught in a certain way, then it's on the teachers to figure it out and work with the students on how to, there's gotta be something that on the teacher side, they know that the tests aren't gonna be asking in the same way because they do these tests every year. So there's gotta be something. I'm not putting it all on the teachers, but I think that there needs to be more done.
Other questions? Jim?
My question is that, Tim, I find it more than a little interesting that you send home to a certain group of people advocating for the $500,000 that they got last year. But
No, I didn't put it in a certain group of people at all. I sent out to everybody. Because I was, what?
I didn't.
It was on social media. That's all I did. I put it on Facebook.
It didn't go home through a school website.
I don't know how it else got, but all I did was put it on social media. And the only thing I wasn't advocating for people just to get raises, I was advocating for the people to show up for the teacher's contract.
Oh, you were out there saying.
Okay, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on.
Hold on, I'm not done.
Yeah, you're done for now.
If you want to use some sort of a matrix to hand out raises, I'm all for that.
I agree.
But I would assume that they would have to go through the same process that the rest of us do, and that's not the standard that they're held to. I'm assuming you knew that,
So Jim,
going into the raise process.
Jim, how am I supposed to control that?
Well, I don't really know, Tim, but you're sitting here saying that the rest of the town employees
I'm saying
should
everybody
be
should.
held to a standard
I'm saying everybody should.
that they're not held to, and that's a $7 million budget, and the rest of the town costs, how much? I don't know the answer, I'm sure it's not
2.15, I believe.
for the entirety of the town.
Right, and it's not seven for, it's not seven for the school.
What that,
It's 6.
Okay.
something.
And
Stan-
I've gotten, in 5 years, I've gotten
Hey,
$30,000
do you have a,
in my pay.
Do you have a question, Gary? 'Cause it's,
So
the
that's
questions, the
talk about
questions
raises,
are going
all
to
right?
the candidates.
I work for the United States
Tammy.
Postal Service, I've gotten $30,000
All right.
cut in pay. So don't come
Order,
about raises.
order, Barry, thank you. Tammy Bailey.
For Samantha and Sierra, I have a suggestion. I would like to see the school board, I would like to see the kids get homework. Not just optional homework like they have now, be a little story, and they have to go in and, get the idea of the story, write a complete sentence. I have an issue with some of the things that go on down there. One of them is, two of my kiddos that were in kindergarten didn't even know how to write their last name. They're not required to write their last name on papers. Right. I don't, and so that summer, they learned how to write their middle and their last name. They learned how to write from 1 to 100. I don't agree with this homework thing. And I don't know whether they're doing it now in first grade, I don't know. But I just think we need to start looking at, and I know I'm gonna get people that say, well, family time and sports, and I'm sorry, education comes before that. And I don't think there's that many kids out there spending family time, their faces in front of it, waiting for a computer screen. So, I know you guys don't have any,
Can I ask a question regarding the school board? Is the school a no homework policy? Is that my understanding?
Not from my understanding. I will say just my personal experience I want to share. The homework in my house is not optional. It's always required to get done. And we also, I am not a huge fan of some of the items that, at least in 4th grade, they get a bingo sheet. A lot of it is like, do chores, follow a recipe. Some of which is great, but not necessarily academic. I would personally like to see more academic things on that board. I always, tried to push my child to, do the 20 minutes reading, and there are options for them to, read something and write sentences about. It is a struggle because when they see those boards, they say, oh, I can just, go clean my room and I don't have to do anything else. So it is a struggle, and I would actually also like to see that change.
I'd like to just get back to basics.
Yeah.
And I know it's old fashioned, but it used to be, I understand it's still in the same way, but I just saw a report about, it was Alabama, before COVID, they were the last ones in education. And now they are #1 in the city, and it was just back to basic math, spelling, I don't think they do spelling there.
They don't do a whole lot of
History
that.
there, don't do much of science. I hear they watch a lot of movies some weeks and things like that, and I just don't agree with the optional thing. The optional homework should not be, it should be required. So, thank you.
Joe, we'll go to you, but Heather had her hand up before you, so Heather, your question.
Thank you. I know on the school side, there are annual performance reviews on all staff, so my question is, would those running for select board support a policy that has required annual reviews of all town employees?
Absolutely. I have no problem with that. I think that's a great idea. In fact, that's something that I recently brought up at our most recent select board meeting.
I would have to know more about it. I've seen bad performance reviews not conducted properly. They can create morale problems, and as long as the school will continue to pay people their full raises, we're not talking COLAs, we're talking gigantic increases regardless of the performance reviews, they're meaningless. They're just kind of like checked off. We did a performance review, absolutely meaningless, no disrespect to any of you involved with the school, but I've got to tell you, I've had bad supervisors before. And I worked with the agency I'm with for 31 plus years.